When did we reach 6 years of Apex Legends? I mean, we didn't, it's still a few months away as of the making of this video, but it's still over half a decade of Apex. Of new legends, maps, weapons, mechanics, and updates over the course of 20 seasons. And over all of those updates, all of those new stuff, I've been left wondering, is the Apex Legends we have now really better than what we had 5 years ago? Hey, can I take over from here? Oh, of course, of course. Go ahead. Season 23 of Apex Legends came in with a new LTM called Launch Royale, a limited time mode that brings us back to the original version of Apex Legends. Original weapons, original legends, and the original version of King's Canyon. The way things used to be. The fucking FOB! Is not a one-to-one replica to the old Apex, but it's close enough that we can take a good look at this and decide whether or not Apex was better before now. In fact, as soon as the season dropped, Jumba and I hopped in together to try a few games, and given where we started, we had to do an old classic.
Are we going Skull Town?
Yeah, rip Skull Town, rip Skull Town.
Yo! People are coming. Look up, look up, look up right now.
We're back, baby. No shields, no weapon, no nothing.
Abilities.
There's no... Oh, on me. Never mind.
I'm so healed.
Someone just left immediately. It's the true Apex experience. Instant! Oh!
I stretched really
Two
far.
people
Oh
on
my
me.
god, we have...
I got blue shield. I win. Nice.
Nice, good shit.
We started our time in the LTM giddily screwing around with the mechanics and toys we used to play with years ago. Did you remember when you could punch a slope in Apex and do this? Back in old Apex, you used to be able to bunny hop while healing if you had any momentum, and you could reattach and deattach to a zipline as many times as you wanted. Actually, bring this one back, I like it. 3 times on an alternator, the ridiculous fire rate of a wingman, shields on the ground, no equipment, on respawn, no perks, map toys, or class rolls, shotguns, just shotguns. It felt like finding a childhood toy and spending a couple hours playing with it like how you used to, and it was fun. But much like that old race car track every basement had, I gave it a few rounds of fun before moving on to something else. Old Apex is a song and dance I've done before. I know the rhythm and I know its pitfalls. It wasn't fun for half the lobby to be dead before round 2 and wander the map until somebody shot their gun. It wasn't fun to die early on and have no way of respawning. And the legend balance was genuinely terrible. What was the point of Mirage back then? Eye candy? Okay, it's pretty good candy. I had fun, don't get me wrong, but after a couple of hours of playing it, I was ready to put it down. Much in the same way I would play a Halo campaign or a few rounds of TF2. I've had my time with it, and it was time for something new. So does this mean that newer Apex Legends is better than the Apex Legends from before? God no. Newer Apex replaced randomness with complexity. Abilities are more pronounced than ever before. How you engage with maps has fundamentally changed, and the legend balance is genuinely terrible. Hey, wait a minute. None of these things are inherently worse, it's just different. Different enough that I don't know how to answer my own question. This question is so difficult to answer because what do I even merit my argument on? If it's playtime, I have more hours logged in the past year than I've had 4 years. It could be based on pure feeling, but I can't exactly ignore how rose-tinted my glasses will be. There is a huge issue with this question, and I just don't know how to explain it. Let me dig a little deeper into my thoughts and... Have you ever heard of Ace of Spades? Ace of Spades was a multiplayer shooter created by Ben Axelway in 2011. An incredibly simple game of capture the flag where the main shtick was being able to build your own bases and destroy your opponents. You had a gun, blocks, a shovel, and grenades, and you used those to win the match in whatever way you'd like. I remember as a kid spending hours of my day after school in front of the computer attempting to keep a base alive from a constant onslaught of soldiers trying to take our flag, even if the game looked like Minecraft's alpha's alpha. I remember Ace of Spades fondly. It was one of my favorites, but there was a game around that time that I don't remember. Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades was a multiplayer shooter developed by Jagex after purchasing the property from its original creator. It is a class-based shooter where you're able to build and break the terrain as you run around shooting your enemies. You have a variety of different modes and classes and tons of breakable terrain. Okay, I don't need to explain it to you. You can see right there that this isn't the same as this. And I don't mean in a, of course not, doofus, the older one was an alpha way. I mean the game plays incredibly differently. Ace of Spades went from a simple, tactical build and shoot game to something far more fast-paced and action-oriented. But despite the fact that these feel like two completely different games, they are the same game. Everything that Ace of Spades had before is here. By default, this is an evolution of the original Ace of Spades. But to me, and arguably most people who played the original, this isn't Ace of Spades. It's something else entirely. Now that I've sidetracked this entire topic onto a Minecraft with guns game, what does this all have to do with Apex? Well, let's just update this to this. Apex Legends from before and Apex Legends now are what I consider entirely different games. Even though they both stand on the same ground, the bricks that are laid on top of that foundation have changed. This is a thing that happens in every live service game, to varying amounts, but the end result is almost always the original product not being seen in the same light as the current iteration. Actually, it's a bit unfair to say Apex is like Ace of Spades. That game basically went from this to this overnight, but Apex has been changing for years. Parts of the game changed, balanced, altered, removed, and added over the course of half a decade. Partly to keep things from getting stale and partly to improve how the game plays. But what that means is that the parts that made Apex Legends into what we play now happened gradually. And I swear there's a philosophical question here that would explain what I'm talking about. Oh hey, nice boat. This question has its answer. Which one is better? Simply put, the best is entirely up to you. Do you prefer Halo 2 or 3? Half-Life or Half-Life 2? Pokemon Diamond and Pearl or Platinum? The answer is entirely subjective and up to your personal tastes. But despite that answer, I still can't get this question out of my head. It bothers me how much people ask it, how prevalent it is. Why does everyone want to know? And that's when I realized that the Launch Royale mode that kicked off my fascination into this question was an LTM. It was set to disappear very quickly, never to be played again unless they put it back in. In fact, by the time you watch this, it may just be gone entirely. It was never about whether or not one was more fun than the other. This question, which has been staring at me this entire video, gets asked because we can't play it anymore. The bottom line of a live service game is that the game must continue to grow. It has to change to invite new players and satiate the old. New weapons, new legends, new maps, new mechanics, new modes. And along that growth, a lot of what was made before gets left behind. I didn't even play Apex Legends around its launch. I started in Season 4, and much of that version of the game is completely gone, as well as so many other versions of Apex that have passed into history. I'm not trying to say that these versions are better than these two, but it sucks to reminisce on the Apex of the past and have no way of recreating it. So when we are disappointed or unhappy with the game, we sit here and ask this, to remind ourselves of a time we did enjoy Apex. Even if you've probably forgotten all the tilting moments you used to have then too. I'm not usually negative on this channel, I try not to be. But if I could give one genuine constructive criticism to Respawn, it'd be this. Open up custom lobbies for anybody to play whenever they want. Keep those old versions of maps around so they can still be used. Don't remove old modes completely just because their seasonal timer went out. Give your players the choice to play the game in the way they want to play it. And I think you'll find far fewer people coming back to this question if you did. Ace of Spades, the Jagex version, actually shut down a year before Apex was even released. And despite not personally liking the game, I'm sad that this version was taken away completely. But Ace of Spades, the original version, was kept alive, with fan projects like Open Spades and Block and Shoot hosting their own versions of the client to keep an old game's wheels turning. There's barely enough people playing for one lobby at this point, but it was still cool to open it up and play it just like I used to. And while it is a far cry thing to ask for, I hope that one day, Apex can do the same. A bit too wordy?